This is the first time I felt human in like 4 days. I have been sick, and I don't wish that upon my worst enemy. But with that being said, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about, the school systems and what's being allowed to happen and separating our children. Burns and many other schools are separating our children based on the amount of money parents make. And I don't know about you or the next person that's seeing this video, but a child does not determine how much money they have in their household. Not every child is born to a family that has money. Some families are single parents. Some are, two parents making it work. With that being said, if you're a school and you see this, I need you to really think about this. If you're a parent that don't have to second guess if an expensive field trip comes up that your child can attend to, think about the other children that may not have this same luxury, okay? This week, children from our local schools went to the Outer Banks. Now, mind you, this trip was very, very expensive. And they only did fundraising for the children that were able to make the first down payment. Okay? Now, I get it. I'm going to have some parents to come on here and say, well, you said that I had kids and blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear that, okay? I want you to sit back and really think that these children do not have the means to go get a job in middle school to pay for a field trip. They don't. They don't have the means to come up with $800 to $1,000 to go do something. And that creates hostility and depression amongst our children, and it creates a divide in our children that shouldn't be there. Because every single one of us pay tax dollars. And those tax dollars are not being used correctly. So while a multitude of children got to go to the Outer Banks this week, there are some that got left behind because their parents simply couldn't afford $700 to $1,000 to send their children on this expensive field trip. The children that got left behind are left doing paperwork and learning about the Outer Banks. And yes, these children that got to go on the Outer Banks trip are having the time of their life, and I'm sure they're forever thankful. But the children that got left behind will remember this for the rest of their lives. While the parents that couldn't afford it are doing everything they can to keep the power on, the rent paid, car payments paid, clothes on their children's back, food. And don't you for once sit here and think that parents that couldn't afford it didn't want to send their children to go. But I encourage you, if you are a parent and your school system is doing these things, you need to speak out against it because it's not fair. If they wanted a field trip to go to the Outer Banks, they should have fundraised for the whole class to go. The whole 8th grade, the whole 7th grade, the whole 6th grade, whatever. But to put a divide in our children simply over money and then make the kids that couldn't afford to go sit back and do schoolwork, to me is just unacceptable. Because I assure you, the kids that are going on this Outer Banks field trip are not doing any schoolwork at all. So basically, these parents pay $600 to $1,000 for their kids to get out of doing schoolwork. That's exactly what happened. And to me, as a parent, as a taxpayer, we have the North Carolina Education Lottery. Where is all this money going to? Why are we as parents having to pay $20 technology fees? Why are we having to pay for everything underneath the sun when we're paying the highest we have ever paid in taxes. We're paying the highest we've ever paid to house, to clothes, to whatever. But yet schools are continuing to press the divide when they claim that they don't want to divide our children. It makes no sense to me. And I'm curious to sit here and wonder what Cleveland County School Board even thinks about this, because I certainly don't think that a child in middle school has the means to come up with $600 to $1,000 for a field trip. Like, they just had a field trip to Lenoir-Rhyne at the beginning of this year, and they wanted to charge $30 $30 fee to go watch a play. And if the kids couldn't pay it, they couldn't go. And I think $10 of it was non-refundable. I raised a ruckus about that, and then somebody paid for it. This is all supposed to be curriculum related. So if it's curriculum related, that means that our tax dollars should be paying for this field trip. End of discussion. So I just want y'all to think about that and remember that, just because you're financially able to send your child, not every parent is, not every household has that ability. And we're creating a huge divide in our children, and that's what creates the divide in adults. Money is the root of all evil, and our children shouldn't be divided in middle school over who has more money than the next. That's just like I ran into the band director at Burns. Well, they had an all-county band. Well, when I pulled up last weekend, Kings Mountain sent a bus. I asked the band director, I'm like, why didn't you get a bus for our kids? Well, I chose not to, were his exact words. And I'm like, why? He's like, they knew the responsibility. Excuse me, they knew the responsibility? They don't drive? They're not high school kids. They're middle school kids, sir. They can't get in a car and drive. Parents that wanted their children to attend had to literally take off work last weekend for their kids to be able to do this. These schools and these parents and these teachers, especially some of these teachers, need to wake up and smell the roses. Because I am so tired of entitled teachers and entitled people thinking that they can just say and do whatever. Used to, back in school, when I went to school, the teachers truly cared about every child being involved. Nowadays, they could care less. Let that sink in, folks, and help me understand this. But I hope every one of y'all having an amazing day. Remember that you're worth it. No matter what you're going through, no matter your struggle, you're worth it and you matter on the other side of that screen. I love you guys. Peace out. I love y'all.